Mr. Adam Ivy.
What's
Oh
going
man.
on? What's going on, man?
I remember I think we were bouncing off on the comment section on Instagram, how I guess my first few episodes were really mellow and I was like, so guys, let's just all talk about life in general.
Yeah,
And
you're
then,
like an NPR host.
yeah.
You
And then when I started having guests, I was like, oh yeah, definitely not one of those.
got to
um,
ramp it up, man. One thing that I noticed a long time ago in my YouTube videos was they say that the camera adds 10 pounds when it comes to Hollywood stuff.
yeah.
But I also think that the camera and the mic on podcasts actually suppresses your energy. You can have perfectly fine energy and you got to ramp it up by like a couple notches in order for the audience to absorb it the same way that you're trying to put it out, you know?
Yeah, definitely. That's for sure. Anyways, going back to cars, you were saying you just put in 300 miles on your R8?
Yeah. So every few months, I participate in a local kind of a drivers group that does charitable events for Toys for Tots, for Feed the Children, these types of things. And so yesterday was the Toys for Tots rally. I don't know how many cars came out. There were a lot of guys and girls, and everybody showed up as far as the cars go, to the point where at the end of the event, we drop off all the toys at a car dealership. It's very like COVID friendly. People roll up, only a couple people at a time, get out, hand off the toys, get back in, masks on, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But at the end of the event, they had a massive U-Haul truck, like a moving truck, and all the toys couldn't fit in the U-Haul. Somebody had to volunteer their truck to help. So
that's so sweet.
Dude, super fulfilling. But yeah, yesterday we drove off to the East Coast of Florida, met up at the McLaren dealership with all the other fancy cars and stuff. And it's really cool to talk to these other people about what they do in their life, whether they're a pilot, a doctor, a business owner. Some people just, were born into money. So it's really cool to kind of be a relatively younger guy in the mix. I've always loved cars, man. I've had over 80 cars in my life. I used to, one of my first hustles back in high school was buying a car off Auto Trader or somebody that had their car in their front yard for sale. I'd haggle, I was quite the shrewd negotiator, and then I'd buy it for cash, go home, detail it, really spend a solid weekend vacuuming and shampooing the rugs. And if there was trim that was broken, I would fix it or paint it or whatever. And then I would usually usually back then, we're talking like the early 2000s, I would double my profit on almost all of them. So, I was working at Best Buy in East Bay at the time. And I've always loved cars, man. Before I was into music, actually, I was spending all of my time and money souping up, Mitsubishi Eclipses and Honda Del Sols and Toyota, MR2s and BMW M3s and all these like tuner cars.
Whoa.
And, now as an adult, I do the same kind of, just on a slightly higher level. I've never lost the passion for it.
So I love cars too. And, I'm more on the frugal side because I definitely blew all my money in a bad way.
Easy.
But
easy.
What I did was on my little Toyota Echo, that's right, Toyota Echo hatchback, baby. I got the ODB sensors. They're super cheap now on eBay or on Amazon. You can hook that baby up and then, whip up car scanner, and then you can have a second dashboard on your phone. I was like, okay, so like this $1,000 feature is now what, like $20? So I was like, geez, amazing.
Super cheap. Now the Echo, if I'm not mistaken, the Echo came out around the first time as the first gen Prius. That was like one of the first Toyotas. They were really trying to push great fuel economy, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, it died so quickly because of the Yaris, which was like, man, like the hatchback actually had a nice look. Like off to the distance, it's kind of like GTI material. So I was like, yeah, this is great. This is like made me interested on because you like cars. But do you ever watch Top Gear? Or
I've probably watched almost every episode of the UK version of Top Gear, and what do they call it now? The
Grand Tour.
Grand Tour.
Yes.
And
you're one of us. Yeah.
Yeah, man. And the one thing is, I do watch American Top Gear, and I always it's kind of a guilty pleasure because I don't really necessarily enjoy the host. So I'll watch it like this.
Yeah.
But it's still cars. So it's like, okay. And
And then
I'm subscribed. Go ahead.
There was that awkward period where like there was American Top Gear, and then when the Top Gear hosts left, and then they got replaced by these like just another Top Gear, and they were Americans too. So it was like now there's two Top Gears with Americans. So it was like,
yeah. It took them a couple seasons to kind of dial it into being acceptable again. I think that with the way that technology has gone and personal branding and YouTube, I'm subscribed to probably a dozen different car channels on YouTube, and I enjoy those just as much as Top Gear now.
I find that like people who likes cars, so me too, and as well as you, they have this passion, this drive. Like there's something about cars that just like it's exhilaration, it's excitement, it's intensity. It's also like I think for me it was the what was it? The Fast and the Furious franchise that really got me into it. Like that, seeing all of that, Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, rest in peace. That was all like a huge influence to me. But speaking of drive, because this always made me curious. When I first encountered you on YouTube, the one thing that was so infectious and so powerfully resonating was your drive. I felt that there was something in the layers of the YouTube videos. The at one point you were like you were the Gordon Ramsay for music. That was crazy. And then now you're just you're the music marketing expert. But the one thing that always grasped me time and time again whenever I see your stuff is your drive. Like you can't revoke how genuine you are.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Yeah.
I mean, where does that come from?
I think it comes from a lot of different places. I grew up kind of poor. I don't like to emphasize that because I know that people have a lot more obstacles and a lot more adversity than I had, as well as my own parents watch a lot of my content. So I never try to make it seem like, we were homeless or anything, although I was homeless at 17. That's a whole different story. But I love both of my parents. They are super hardworking people. We grew up with a lot more love in the household than we did money, but we were never without to be able to just enjoy what we had. But I say that because where I grew up in central Wisconsin is very blue collar, very sequential when it comes to graduate high school. If you don't go to a technical college, community college, or one of the bigger schools, you immediately have to find a factory type job, blue collar job, typically get married by around 20, 21. And then it's just kind of, you settle in and wait for retirement. And that always really bothered me because, I saw my parents struggle, man. We got free lunch and free breakfast at school because we were in that, lower income tier. And, I know what it feels like to get chased around and beat up and made fun of for, being, having messed up teeth or acne or greasy hair or dandruff, all these things that a lot of people deal with. And that's one reason that Toys for Tots and whatnot is really a special, like I almost get emotional sometimes, to be honest, when I see little kids having so much fun and just, I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be in that position. So the drive is like, I feel like my life, the cards, the chips, whatever that were stacked in the regular path for what my life was supposed to be is an escalator, but it's an escalator going down and it's my responsibility for walking up it. Now, if you've ever been to a mall or an airport or whatever, and you try to go up the downward escalator, you have to put in some work. Your legs are going to burn pretty quick trying to run up it.
That's right.
And that's why I put in the work, because it doesn't matter where I'm at this year. It doesn't matter where I've been at 5 years ago. It doesn't, like, if I stop, the escalator doesn't stop. I'm going to go back down to what everybody expected, me working at a factory. And maybe that's a limiting belief or a false belief at this point in my life, because I have been at it so long. But I really do believe that if you don't keep going after something, if you don't keep reestablishing goals after you accomplish certain things in life, those milestones, I feel like you just kind of become complacent. And then if you're at a place in life where you're happy, money doesn't make you happy. Money doesn't make me happy. It's certain freedoms, it's certain fulfillments, it's certain things that I'm able to do because I do genuinely believe, like a lot of people say, it's kind of cliche, but those who are a-holes without money are bigger a-holes with money, and those who want to do good when they're broke are even better and more abundantly good when they have money. So I use, the income that I make, the abundance of connections that I've made over the years, the skill sets that I've developed with camera stuff and audio stuff. Like I try to deliver a message that's going to help. And I know that even if I don't win a Grammy, because I honestly, winning a Grammy is not even like a goal for me anymore. It's really to help a lot of people be able to sustain an income with music. Yeah. Hashtag video indigestion. But be able to sustain in moving forward. A lot of people don't know this, but I have 2 other companies outside of music completely. And I also have my education stuff. I'm consulting on a high level, like an executive level in the corporate realm here and there still. And, I'm not just the guy that sits on the freaking computer trying to figure out how to market. I do it within everything that I do, though. So I share that knowledge and that real life experience. And I feel like if you have those skills, if you have that drive to better yourself, there's a quote from the Bible, and you don't have to be super religious, but it goes somewhere along the lines where scripture says, those who spend their life bringing light into other people's life have a hard time avoiding it themselves. That paraphrased. But I find it so powerful because it's like, if I spend my time and I work through the frustrations and the limiting beliefs and the people that are in my emails and DMs saying that I'm trying to rip people off and stuff, if I could see past the 0.00025% of the resistance and I just really embrace those who I am helping, that's really fulfilling, regardless of if the placements go through, regardless of if the records ever come out, regardless of if that, music is good enough for somebody at a record label. Like the overall scope of what I'm doing for my future family, for my family now, for myself, for my wife, it's like, I want to see how far I can go. I want to see how I don't believe there's a limitation. I just want to keep pushing because I say it all the time as an entrepreneur, as somebody going after their dreams, whether it be in music, fitness, cars. There's no top rung. There's no, like, you're on a rope ladder, but there's no like platform. You're just keeping climbing. So the illusion of making it doesn't exist for me. In fact, I remember telling my now wife when we first started dating, I said, I don't plan on ever retiring. The 401k life is not for me. If I want to retire from life, it's going to be being able to sell off a business, being able to step into something part-time or delegate all my tasks and still have some sort of operation in something, but be able to really, continue what makes me tick. I'm a busybody by nature. I think that a lot of times I take that for granted because sometimes when I'm talking to people in YouTube comments or even some students, they're like, how do you do all this without burning out? I'm like, idle hands are dangerous to me. I don't like just sitting around watching TV. I don't like relaxing. To me is being able to be on here answering messages from students, being able to go through emails and pick and choose what sponsorships I take, or, just working and, you can't see it too much on film right now, but go through all the different crazy knobs and settings of the synths that I have and trying to figure them out. Cause at the end of the day, I don't know everything. So I'm always thirsty for learning and trying new things. So I guess that's a rambly way of explaining where the drive comes from. I just want to really push and see what I'm capable of because we only get one take at this thing.
That's very true. What made me what attracted me to you was my gut feeling. So this is kind of going off on a tangent, but I had this one video on TikTok that caught me off guard because it was basically this guy. I can't remember his name. I think it was Nogawi or something, but he was talking about like this crazy theory hypothesis about how like it's gonna sound crazy. Regret or your gut feeling is like your future self with regret, feeling that regret and sending that regret back to you as a gut feeling. In other words, like if you don't want a future, try to wrap my head around this because it's so complicated at some points. If you don't want a future filled with regret, you basically listen to your gut feeling. So let me try to work this out in terms that make sense for me and for you too. So like, if you get a signal from your future self, a gut feeling, it's a regret that they gone through something that you shouldn't go through. And if you ignore that gut feeling, you're kind of sealing your fate. You're basically ignoring your intuition, and you'll probably go through the same regret that future version of yourself will go through. But if you listen to your gut feeling, you sever yourself from that future and you rewrite your history in that sense. And you can imagine, like, if you get all these gut feelings, it's like, oh, should I do that? Or my gut's telling me I got to do it. Or like, I'm feeling like I shouldn't do something, but my gut's telling me, you know what? Like, I need to get off my butt and do something, right? Every time you listen to that, it feels like you have less and less regret, and you start living a life without regret.
For
And
sure.
so the one thing that I was wondering was that, do you get that feeling too? There's a whole way of going around it to say, do you follow your gut feeling? Is that something that you do?
Yeah, man. One thing that, even I was talking to my mom just the other day about it, and she's like, I do not know where you come up with, or, where you get this, risk aversion, or not risk aversion, but like you're willing to take all these risks. She's like, I have no idea where you got that from in this family, because we're all risk adverse. And I'm like, I think that, in my entire life, I've failed so many times. And I know that also sounds cliche, fail forward, you got to fail. And I agree with that. Obviously, I've had I consider it a failed apparel company, even though I ended up profiting at the end. I got to a point where I broke even on over $50,000 in credit card debt. Made a little bit of money and then said, I am exhausted. I do not want to do this anymore. And I have probably $10,000 or $15,000 worth of inventory right now sitting in containers in my garage. And I'm like, maybe I'll open it back up because, I'm past the burnout stage of that. But to answer your question, I trust my gut all the time. Is my gut right every time? Crazy. No, but if I'm like, yeah, F it, I'll do it. I've started businesses that way. I even started my online program that way. Really, so many people were asking if I had something, and I'm not going to talk a lot about it because I'm not trying to sell anything, but I finally said, you know what? What's the worst that can happen? I'm going to help some people. And, if nobody wants this, then, that'll answer that question. And I won't think about it then. If I get an answer, whether I like the answer or not, at least I have an answer and I'm not wondering, right? I'm not like, oh, I wonder if I should have did this. I wonder if I should have did that. I have very little regret in my life. I've screwed up major when I was a kid. I've screwed up through my 20s. I've screwed up with relationships. I've screwed up with friendships. I've screwed up with, even employment in the past. I don't regret any of it because it got me to where I am now. And I'm very happy within the present situation. So I think that you have to be able to take risks. You have to be able to take chances and bet on yourself. And if you can't, then don't get mad at people that do. Don't get upset for people that don't have as much responsibility. If you had, for instance, this happened just a few weeks ago, somebody was in the DMs and said something along the lines, I'm not going to bust out their name or anything, but they said, Adam, I'm in my mid-20s, I have 3 children, and I just don't think I have any chance of making it because I have responsibilities. I can't quit my day job and do music full-time like I'd like to. This guy was married. He had the whole family life at like 24 years old. And I'm like, I responded, I said, dude, you're coming at me like this is a hindrance in your life. This is a freaking blessing. You have
an origin story.
Right. I said, this is a great origin story. I said, second of all, well, I didn't say that, but that's a good point. I said, you have 4 reasons every single day to push beyond somebody who's a single guy who has no reason to do it.
Yeah.
You have 3 kids to be able to show what a little bit of hard work, what a little bit of persistence. And I told them, just like I tell everybody, and this, we've talked about it. I'm like, you don't have to make $1 million a year. If music will make you $300 a month with a few hours here and there, then that's like a cool little vacation for a weekend staycation with your family at an Airbnb. That could be the phone bill for your entire family. That could be a few nights out, Chuck E. Cheese, or at somewhere to go eat like Olive Garden or Outback Steakhouse or something. Like people try to swing for the fences, and if they don't think they can hit a home run, they go back to the dugout and they say, I don't want to swing. And so when you go after it, that's the only way that you're going to succeed, and that's the only way you're going to fail. Otherwise, you're just floating in the middle. And I have very little sympathy for people that float in the middle and then complain that what I'm teaching doesn't work. I'm like, you've never put in a day of work in your life, to the level. I mean, like I say all the time, hard work is the entry fee. It's not something that you get patted on the back for. Hard work is the starting point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I call that the valley of despair. There's a lot of people who live in that valley, and despair begets despair. But I also find that like one of the things that you do, and this is like a service to mankind that you do, I see it this way, is that you see people in that valley and you say, "Hey, dipshits!" Sorry, don't mean to swear.
Oh,
But
you
hey,
feel free. It's your show.
the way out is right here. Look,
Yeah.
look, it's right this way. Look,
Yeah.
like stop bickering with each other. Look, it's this way. Look. And you say that, like you say look so many times, you're like, geez, I'm so tired. Look. And that's like, that's what I think you're doing. I think that that's very important. The Valley of Despair, for those who don't know, it's like this, found it online. It's like the psychology, the stages of change. And it's like that, the bottom stage of change. And the way out of Valley of Despair into acceptance and fulfillment is the little steps of change. And that when we first started talking to each other, you would tell me like, it takes little steps, and then the little steps really kind of add up. Like they add up to big steps if you look back, right?
Definitely.
So I think
on what you're saying, if I can just interrupt for a second, I think so many people are caught in this valley because when somebody, myself, anybody, right? I'm not the knower of all things, far from it. But when they're told that hard work is the way, to them, hard work sounds too easy. They're like, no, it's putting in hard work. That's way too easy. It has to be more complicated than that. And you're like, no, these are the steps. And if you're just consistent and you just put in the work, like
because it's hard,
this works, right?
Yeah.
They're like, no, it has to be more complicated than that. I'm like, well, just do it. And, put in the work and, really dedicate some time to this. And it's going to get you. Well, how do you know? Well, what happens if I do this for like 3 months and nothing happens? Those people don't succeed. It's the ones that say, I'm going to do this for 6 months. I'm going to show you what I can do. And then I'm going to learn from the things that didn't work, and I'm going to readjust, and then I'm going to keep working. Because people that are obsessed with keeping their feet moving forward, one foot in front of the other, are the people that succeed in whatever realm, even if their ultimate goals and ambitions aren't met. They're like elevated way higher than where they started, compared to somebody that's like, well, what happens if it doesn't work? I'm not telling you to, put your house on the line for doing music full time. I'm not that dumb. But if you want to build a brand, I'm going to start sounding like business Adam Ivy again. But like, if you want to build your brand and all that stuff, you have to put yourself out there. You can't be a pussy and be like, well, I really, my music's good enough to be on the radio, but I'm too afraid to take some photos of myself because I don't have an $8,000 camera. Like, you can't have it both ways.
And in this world too, like with social media now being ever so fast, like, in TikTok, like TikTok being like the forefront of this, TikTok has new trends every single day.
Yep.
Isn't that crazy? Every single day. I could even say like every 12 hours there's a new friggin' trend. Isn't that nuts? Like,
we live in an ADD society, man. Like we don't satiate ourselves with anything. We only kind of continue to feed the dopamine and the serotonin. And it's just like if you drink energy drinks. I don't know if you're an energy drink guy, but if you have one Monster out of nowhere and you're not a coffee guy or whatever, it's going to you're going to be jacked up. Right.
Exactly.
But do a Monster every single day after 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Now you need 2, right?
Yeah.
Now, next thing you know, you're almost, making your heart explode because you're doing 3 and you're still sleepy because your brain, all that adrenaline, the dopamine, it's running out and you're so used to it. You're so desensitized to it. That's why people get addicted to porn. They get addicted to gambling. They get addicted to smoking, drugs, all these different things is because too much is not enough at that point, right?
Yeah, so, and you can imagine, like, if you're an artist trying to get your music out there, you're really just going to be one of the many things that you... And so that's the thing that really opened my eyes to this whole concept because, people need to like you. I think that that's really important. Yeah. If you want to leave a first impression, especially in this day and age, if people, flip the, stories on TikTok and they stop to watch your video the whole time through and actually like it, you have, that's a chance of them getting to want to know you more than, just maybe a sound recording of you. And then they'll be like, well,
sure.
Sounds cool. But, I don't know who this person is. Let me just move on. So that to me was that opened my eyes, honestly. Like I used to be one of those guys that are like, okay, the music will make me who I am, and or the music will speak for itself, so to speak.
Yeah.
The music will speak for itself. Um, but those days are over, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the music speaking for itself was ever really a thing. I think the music speaking for itself was like a myth because nobody was seeing the backstories of these musicians, these bands, these acts that were on the road, 48 weekends a year and doing all the necessary steps in order to build that reputation and that buzz where labels were going out and signing them. And then they were on TV and then they had press junkets and then they had marketing dollars behind them. So like, good music will obviously be part of the equation because even if you're watching this or listening to this right now, even if you don't like stuff that's on the radio, oh, this is garbage, my stuff is better than that. Okay, well, you don't have the following. You don't have people that actually agree with that yet. So you need the attention because the radio, the streaming platforms, those are just a litmus test of where the attention is. And a lot of times the reason that something is really, really popping is because they have a movement behind that brand and who that person is, just like a Justin Bieber or a Lil Nas X or a Drake, Adele. If Adele came out with an album out of nowhere tomorrow, it would be at the top of the charts probably for the entire 2021 because people adore her and they're waiting, right? Yeah. They've had all these emotional triggers in the past from different songs. They've had all these different occasions to be able to watch her do interviews and host Saturday Night Live and do a bunch of different things to where now they are invested. Now they wait for that person. Now they actually care. And a lot of people are just trying to chase dollars, thinking that one song popping off, going viral is going to, and I'm not talking about like, Lil Nas X, Old Town Road. I'm talking like just get 100,000 streams in a month like that. That's a good month, but that's not an actual business. That would be like if I came out with a Snap bracelet that did really well on Kickstarter and then nobody cared because it's not on Kickstarter anymore. And after I fulfill those orders, is my Snap bracelet business going to be able to, be a successful business 50 years from now? Or was it like a hot summer? I think people really overlook the foundational steps as we talk about in the program all the time. It's like you need more than just music. You need more than just some TikToker doing a dance to your stuff. Obviously, all of those things are part of the equation and they're important at some regard, but music is probably 20-25% of the equation. The marketing is the rest of it.
I have a question about that because this always got me curious.
Yeah.
Would you consider marketing sort of like a newer art form? In a sense?
Yeah, marketing in itself is, absolutely. If you are a creative, if you understand how to narrate your brand and be able to put out enticing captions, be able to put out enticing copy, understand what the formula for hooks are, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and then understand aesthetic when it comes to the visuals on all the different social medias, the visuals on your website, the visuals, all of that stuff. That is art in every single way. I talk about this all the time within my own team. I say, and I'll be kind of candid. I'll try to keep it PG here, but people complain all the time that they're not making enough with their streams. They spent 2 weeks recording and mixing and mastering and finding cover art, and they're so upset that they're not getting paid enough for those 1,500, 200, 25,000 streams. But yet they're not complaining about all the content that they're putting on Instagram not making them any money. You go and you buy an expensive camera, you have somebody do photos of you, you spend time editing, you spend time writing captions, you spend time understanding hashtags, you spend time networking. Why aren't you upset about that art? Because that's art.
Yeah.
A lot of times people put just as much in 1 week's time. If you're posting every single day correctly, you're going to put in just as much effort, more or less, as writing a song in a lot of ways. Not everybody, but in a lot of ways. If you write 5 days worth of captions that are really enticing, maybe they're origin story, maybe they're just engaging captions talking about what's in the actual photo or video, that's no different than writing a song. You're telling a story, you're painting a picture.
Yeah.
So it's all tied in, and we're using these different pieces for attention to drive people over to Spotify, drive people to merch sales, drive people to a Patreon, drive people to live performances over on Twitch, live performances in person, being able to actually build up, collab with other people. Like, it is a freaking business. Mm-hmm. And people don't like to look at it that way because they're too proud of their art, which is fine. Mm-hmm. If you are a purist and you think that capitalism is evil, then don't try to do music as a living, because guess what? You're going to have to be balls deep in capitalism in order to profit from your music. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to break that reality down, but that you're building a brand, you have a product, your product is selling, that's how you get paid. Mm-hmm. Capitalism, right? So, I mean, that's why people get so upset, because if you and I were in a room right now and one of us is like, I'm going to do music for a living. Okay. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to sell tractors for a living. It's the same freaking thing. We have to build a brand around why people should buy tractors from me, why people should, go to your music. I have to tell them why my tractors are better. I have a lot of overhead though in that business, because guess what? I have to buy a lot of freaking tractors to have on a showroom. I have to have a brick and mortar business. I have to build a website that has all the e-com set up. Mm-hmm. Music, a lot of it is super low overhead, unless you're spending tens of thousands of dollars in studio sessions and stuff like that. I'm not discounting that, because it can be pretty expensive, but with the, position that we're in right now, all of this stuff is really readily available to us, whether we're recording in our phones, using a cheap microphone that we found off Amazon for 20, 25 bucks, and then watching a bunch of free tutorials on YouTube on how to record and make better mixes and all that good stuff. But I digress. I just think that, people need to look at it more so for the long play of it, rather than they want to be hot in 3 to 6 months because one guy that they saw that one time that they, read an interview about one dude blowing up instantly overnight, painted a very toxic picture of how it actually works.
Yes, I like the idea of marketing as an art form, because it gives creators that perception of building their craft. I think that that's, to me, the most important thing, because the problem that I've always had with musicians thinking that marketing and music, musicianship can't come together. I think that that's partially why the reason they don't do so well. But also, I think it's because it's been sort of stigmatized by, I guess, one political propaganda against what marketing is. I actually think marketing is a beautiful art form. I think that it's one of the ones that will continue to grow and change the world as you're changing the world. I think that you're actually part of that movement that's changing and sort of shifting the idea that, look, like, this whole blob called marketing doesn't belong to just these few narrow people in the industry. Everyone can do it. And I think that that's really the exciting thing, which brings me to my next question about music marketing. Why now? Why is the change so important in music marketing now than ever? Please.
Yeah, it's important now because anybody can do it. That's the thing. Back when I first started producing back in 2005, 2006, you had to have, right around that time, you had to have an expensive keyboard controller to be able to have sounds like a Korg Triton or Yamaha Motif or a Roland Phantom or whatever. And I came in early on in the beat making software type stuff. But very, very quickly, as it's become more and more accessible, it's easier to make music. So it's easier to kind of get overlooked by people that really, really want their voices heard. And they're not going to use an excuse like, oh, I shouldn't have to market. No, they are out pounding the pavement digitally, no different than having a lemonade stand when you're a kid. There's a certain difference between the person who makes the art and it's like a therapeutic exercise for them to be able to express themselves, and those that make the music and say, like, I need people to hear this. Like, it doesn't matter how, I need people to hear this. It's a very different mindset, because so many people make this music and it's their baby. And it's the best thing they've ever made. And that's fine. You can be like that. And I hope you have pride in your music. However, if you just have this thing and you're like, well, I don't want to sell out, you're never going to sell anything. Like, even the biggest, underground indie successes sold out on some level to become that level, right? So I think that a lot of people need to just start looking at it as, going back to your question, tying directly in, now is the time, because there's never going to be a reversion back to how it used to be. It's only going to continue to progress. So it's either you do it now or you have even more competition as time goes on. But I want people to understand that there's only one you. I'm going to Tony Robbins you for a second. There's only one you, one me. Like, you need to be able to you need to be able to have confidence within who you are and not worry about everybody else. Because comparison is the thief of joy, as they say. There's always going to be somebody that's better than me at music. There's always going to be somebody that looks better than me on camera. There's always going to be somebody that color grades their stuff nicer than I do. And I'm just like, man, I wish I knew how to do that. But the thing is, I'm doing my work. I'm doing the best that I can. And you guys have to do the same, because when you put your music out there, your biggest hit is not going to be determined by how much you like a song. It's going to be determined by those who actually hear it, resonate with it, share it, and it blow up like that. There's a whole lot of one-hit wonders that have more than one hit, but nobody ever heard them. You know what I mean?
Why are people so infatuated? Why are people so so focused on on other people's stuff and
because
not their own?
Yeah, it's hard to look in the mirror. It's easy to look out the window. That's the issue. You know, it's really fun to look at everybody's highlights, see what everybody else is doing, and lust for a different reality, right? There's people out there that are making millions of dollars a year in their own businesses that they've developed, whether it's a software business, a tractor business, or the music business. And they're looking out and saying, like, how the F are they doing so much better than me? I wish I was at that level, right? Every YouTuber that has 1 million subscribers is looking at a YouTube channel that has 10 million subscribers and saying, like, why can't I get that visibility? Why can't I be Mr. Beast or PewDiePie or whatever? And so when you can really be present in the moment, right? There's a book called The Power of Now. I admittedly have not read the whole thing, but it's an incredibly powerful concept of there's only right now. You have to be present in it. And if you're dwelling on the past, if you're dwelling on the future, you're not in the current. So you need to be able to look in the mirror and say, okay, this is me right now. What can I improve? Why am I not where I want to be yet? And be real with yourself rather than, because people look for validation in their excuses. And I'm not sitting here just to give tough love the entire, chit chat with you, but I think that it's really, really easy to look out and even in my own YouTube growth, I know that people think it was easy. I know that people are like, oh, you're so fortunate, or, oh, it must be easy, or like whatever, right? But they don't see the work that's done behind the scenes. They don't see the relationships that it's cost. They don't see the sleepless nights trying to juggle a whole bunch of stuff just to, barely get by up until the point where it starts taking off. People overlook the hard work. They overlook the accomplishments of others and just latch on to their, chapter 20 when they're in chapter 2 of their own life. So that's where that envy, that's where the cynicism, that's where the jealousy sometimes can grow. I'm not saying everybody, like, I'm sure there's plenty of people that are going to watch this, listen to this, that are way more humble and way more understanding that, hey, I'm at, this position in my life and I'm excited for the future. Because I think if a lot more people really embrace the future as far as what can happen rather than what hasn't happened yet. I've always told my friends and family, I'm like, I already know what's going to happen in the future. I'm just waiting for time to catch up. It's literally, I have a vision. Everything's come true so far. And I know where I'm going to be. I just don't know when time's going to, I don't know exactly the day it's going to happen yet, but I know that if I keep putting in the work, whether it's with my music career, whether it's with the YouTube stuff, the education stuff, my capital equipment business, like all the other businesses that I have, and the mobile app that, I am partners with 2 other guys in, like where you put your attention and where you put the consistency and the persistence long-term, you have to make your vision happen. Nobody else is responsible for that.
And I think that's why, like, with the way that your drive is so strong and so the energy I get from you is determination, and determination is really underrated. I think that people don't realize that, there was this guy online, he passed away, he was on YouTube, but he basically said something along these lines where, like, what you don't need is a degree, you need determination.
Yeah.
That blew my mind, because I was like, no matter what a piece of paper says, you can buy that piece of paper. You can you can somehow circumvent the system and come up with some BS piece of paper that says you have this education. But people will catch you right away when they start seeing your work ethic. They start seeing you as a person. Like you really can't make that stuff up. It has to come within, right?
Yep. No, I mean, 100%, man. I don't think, I think that the way our society is going now, I think a college degree is going to kind of be less and less important because a whole lot of people, we have an oversight. If you think that the music market is oversaturated, think of how many millions of people get their degree every year for a limited amount of jobs.
Yeah.
Wrap your head around that, because the music industry is a whole lot less saturated than a million different people going and getting like, what's a good
like a
business
lawyer,
admin degrees?
Yeah, admin. Yeah, there you go. That's a good one.
Business admin or philosophy degrees. Mm-hmm. Okay, you can wipe your ass with that because that's about all it's worth. Like people are out there getting a minor in like archery, and I might be exaggerating a little bit, but college is all for profit. And that's the real issue with our society right now is they're looking at education sources like online courses, YouTube, and society tries to paint that as a joke, a waste of time just to get you into a degree for $80,000 that you don't know if that's what you want to do for the rest of your life. They try to convince you at 17 that you want to become a civil engineer. Mm-hmm. What 16, 17-year-old knows that they want to become a civil engineer? Maybe like this much of the population, but give me a break, man. That's why so many people change degrees, change majors. Mm-hmm. And we live in a society now that the determination, the hard work, the work ethic is so much more important, because if you find a way, you're going to make a way. Mm-hmm. Those that wait for a way rarely ever find it.
Yes. You know? Thus the valley of despair.
Yeah, it really is.
All right. This makes me wonder. There's like an antithesis. Gosh, the words.
Antithesis?
Antithesis. That's the word. Does that is that to you? Are those real people? Are those within? Are you fighting basically yourself? Are you fighting people? What's your perspective on that whole idea of like this negative voice that's talking to you, or like, these negative projections?
Sure. I think we all have demons. We all have limiting beliefs. Imposter syndrome is really heavy in any type of creative venture, because we might know that we can make beats. We might know that we can write songs. We might know that we can sing, but when are they going to find out that I'm not really that good? Right. Or, for example, this is something that I've worked through over the years. I'm still not perfect at it, but I'll go through 1,000 different positive comments on YouTube, and I'll run into one a-hole that's saying like, I can't even find your music. This stuff doesn't work. Meanwhile, no subscribers, no profile photo, literally just a troll. But my brain is like, I want to convince this person that I do want to help them. I can help them. And I know that I can't do that with everybody. In fact, I had a conversation with the troll not too long ago. And, he spent a bunch of time telling me he wasn't a troll. And I was like, I really want to believe you, bro, but like all your actions are not really in line with what you're saying to me. Mm-hmm. And he honestly kind of just came back and said a lot of this stuff, and I'd love to share the email somewhere. I'm not going to give that person any shine, but he said a lot of this stuff is internal and has nothing to do with you. I project to bring other people down to feel better about myself. And that, like,
yikes.
I actually responded and said, like, that's a very real realization that you have. And, I wish you the best in finding happiness and all that good stuff. But I find myself wrapped up at times, not as much anymore, thanks to my team, thanks to my wife, thanks to all the growth and kind of the repetitiveness of what I do in the education space. Mm-hmm. But I try to make people believers because I know what I'm doing is from the heart. I know what I'm doing is to actually help. It's not just to make a quick buck or anything. So that self-doubt is then combated with, oh, well, maybe I need to show more people my music. And then I'm like, I only have so much time during the day, and the music stuff's behind the scenes for the most part. So I think that when you step outside your comfort zone, when you reach beyond the norm and you're venturing out into a space that none of your friends or family can really navigate for you or help you navigate, there's going to be a lot of I think I heard a sound over there, because you're walking in the dark. And so as you acquire the experience and the knowledge, all of a sudden you start having a little bit of light. Maybe you have a match, and then you have a candle, then you have a flashlight, then you have a big lamp, and then the sun comes up when you really start understanding it. But for a while, it's like you're walking through a cornfield or something, and you think you hear something, and it stops you in your tracks. You're like, oh, like, I don't know what's going on. But you have to move past that. You have to say, I know where I'm going, and the light will come. But those demons, from being told that you'll never do anything with your life, from being told that going after your music career is stupid, nobody's going to make it, you're getting too old, you're not attractive enough, you don't have a good voice, you don't know how to write, all your stuff sounds the same. There's a million different things that we can convince ourselves of. But if you go and you hang out with any of these guys that have Grammy Awards, any of these people that are winning Billboard Awards or on the charts, whether they're brand new to the game or they've been around for decades, they're going to have the same old stuff that they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, from fake friends to their own limiting beliefs to, I'm sick of making this type of music. I'm sick of these, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of different things that people go through. So you can't look at somebody else's obstacles or your own obstacles as if they're like a normal thing. You just have to go through and say, like, hey, I know that they say that you feed a wolf every single day. It's either the bad wolf or it's the good wolf. And whichever wolf you feed is the one that grows and becomes strong. So if you buy into those negative beliefs, if you buy into the things that are holding you back, if you buy into the fact that you're not good enough, you're too old, nobody's going to care, nobody reads your stuff, nobody likes you, you're going to actually make that reality come true. You're going to make the reality come true. Because if you go out, and I'll tell you from personal experience, when you go out looking for a negative comment, when you go looking for adversity, when you go looking for those things that are just going to really feed into what you're already kind of feeling, you're going to find them.
Yeah.
That's why you can't do it. You have to go after where you're going rather than kind of sitting still, like we talked about a little earlier. That's
right. I do find that like with what you said, if negativity is all you look for, it's all you'll see.
Yeah.
How does someone make a drastic change with small steps? How does someone do that?
Drastic change with small steps is changing your environment, changing your daily routine, changing what is normal to you, because so many people sit in this pool of mediocrity and they're complaining about it every single day, but do nothing to try to get out of the pool. They're going to the same job. They're spending the money the same way that they always are, and they're still complaining about being broke all the time. It doesn't matter if you're making $20,000 a year, $200,000 a year. There's people that are living paycheck to paycheck. I used to be one of those people a long time ago. As much money as I would make, all of a sudden I'd have a little bit of extra. What would I do? I'd go crazy and go to Starbucks every day for a week. I'd go buy a really expensive steak. I would go and, you know what I mean? Buy stuff to try to give myself retail therapy to feel better about myself. And so many people go out and, they're trying to kind of shelter themselves through their own excuses and through their day-to-day to just get to what? Right? It's like they're just trying to get through the day to get to the next day. And then that day, they're just trying to get through the day to get to the next day. But it's leading to what? Dying? And that's the sad part, man. There's some people that are living abundantly good lives, right? I think we're all in some way living an abundantly good life.
To the rest of the world? Oh, yeah. The world is a place.
100%. 100%.
Gosh,
I think a lot of people, we are incredibly lucky. Even when I was living in a one-bedroom apartment, eating ramen, tuna, and eggs every single day. I tell people I unplugged my fridge. Never really did that, but I didn't want the condiments to go bad. I didn't have anything in the fridge, but I didn't want the mayonnaise to go bad anyway. I think that we live in a world where we compare ourselves to others, therefore our life isn't quite as good. When if we compare ourselves to others that don't have it as good, we can feel fortunate within it. We have to kind of step out, like I was saying, and I know I ramble a lot, so if you're listening or watching, I apologize for going all over the place. I think, and sometimes my wife looks at me and she's just like, oh God, because I talk to her the same way I'm talking to you right now. I'm like, if we want to live better, we have to change some of this stuff. If we want to get to the point with our future family, with our current family, being able to live in a life of abundance, I want to have like 50 acres in the middle of nowhere in a big old house where I don't have to leave. I just have a compound, right? I know that by serving by doing everything in my wheelhouse to use my gifts to be able to serve, I know that that's going to come. I have no dollar amount set on any of that stuff.
Hey, the 58 acres go far here in Calgary. Here in Alberta, yeah, the Canadian dollar is real good right now.
You need to start scouting, man. I'll move to Canada. No, but I think, just to kind of simplify it, I think that how do I put this? When you look at what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, and you can actually write it all down. This is how I wake up. This is when I wake up. This is what I do for the first hour. This is how I go to work. This is who I surround myself with. This is what I do on lunch break. This is what I do after work. This is what I do before bed. Mm-hmm. You can kind of start seeing the cracks in your own happiness if you're miserable. Mm-hmm. Say, I wake up 15 minutes before work and I'm always late and it stresses me out on the way to work. Okay. I get to lunch and I'm starving and I overeat McDonald's cheap food, and then I feel like crap, and then I get sleepy for 2 hours. Okay, that's a habit. That's a ritual that you do that's not healthy. I get home, I go right to watching TV, and maybe they go to the gym, but maybe they stay too long at the gym, and then when they get home, they don't have time for music, and then they feel bad about themselves before bed because they're like, oh, I got to get to sleep because I got to work tomorrow, but I didn't have time. It's all about prioritization. And if you have people around you that are telling you it's not possible, people around you that are doubting your abilities, people around you that are telling you that, hey, I really think that you're wasting your time with this stuff. Mm-hmm. There's a certain level of critique that's appreciated, and there's a certain level of toxicity that you need to cut out, even if it means being a little bit more solo dolo for a while, because I've been there too, Do
you recommend journaling?
Journaling?
Yes.
Yes and no. I thought you said adrenaline. I'm like, I definitely recommend adrenaline.
Journaling, yes, journaling.
No, journaling. I don't journal in the sense of writing stuff down in a notebook every day. I do use the productivity planner that we talk about all the time. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I fall off the train, and you know what? When I feel like my life is chaotic, when I feel like I'm not organized, I can directly tie it back to, oh, I haven't been using a productivity planner in 2 months. I need to either order another. I have a stack of them in the closet, but I'm like, I gotta, because you get to a point, just like working out. When you stop pushing yourself, you're like, I got this. I'm fine. Your workouts become shorter. You start eating Taco Bell a little bit more frequently, and then you wonder why you don't feel the same. You're wondering why you don't look the same. You're wondering why, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's the same with a business, same with productivity. I don't journal in the sense of, and I probably should, but I write down my goals almost every single day. I pray. I'm a Christian. I don't push that on anybody. I believe, in energy. I believe in just good people being good people. But I pray. I try to take time to really appreciate the good in my life every day, even if it's laying in bed with my 2 dogs. Or going to lunch or cooking breakfast with my wife. Just the small things, going around the block with my dog, walking outside, taking a break from all the media and, digital stuff, kind of separating myself from that. I think that journaling is a great way. You need to be able to vent to someone. Mm-hmm. You need to be able to track your progress. And if you don't do it with a significant other, if you don't do it mentally, it's really good to put it out there, because then you could go back in those journals and say, man, 3 years ago, it really helps you stay present in the future self, to say, I've come a long way and I dealt with these adversities and I worked through them, because a lot of people don't admit to them.
Yeah.
So whether it's journaling, whether it's using a productivity planner, whether it's going to therapy, whether it's talking to your friends and family or people that have kind of hurt you in the past and trying to work through those in an amicable way, I think that self-growth and self-development is no different than artist development, because we're all artists. Absolutely. So we need to develop in our own mental,
I think that that's absolutely true. The reason why it a trigger went off for me, like a good one, was that when you were going through, when you said you could basically say your whole day, you could describe your whole day and explain your whole day, and you can find the cracks to your happiness. And I think that sometimes people don't do that. They don't have the ability to do that. They're too busy trying to find this future, or they're using their intuition to find some kind of future event that'll make them happy, or like some kind of imaginary thing that'll make them happy, where if you write it down in a journal, you remember that, like, oh yeah, I did this. Oh yeah, I did that. Oh yeah, this is something, this is a mistake I keep making. Maybe this is something I have to change. And so that's why when it made me think of journaling, because I did start journaling when I started taking this music career seriously. I wanted to see, like, well, what do I do with my day? And I started seeing the cracks, like you said. My next question is, why coaching? Why coaching? How did we get? You started off, obviously, in your music production, which was a huge success. Were you always coaching people off to the side? Were you always just like, having that style of conversation?
Yeah, man. So coaching kind of came into play a little bit intentionally, a lot of bit accidentally. I've been producing music since 2006. Realistically, I started in 2005, but 2006 is when I really fell in love with it. And moving into the 2008, 2009, going through a lot of struggle in my personal life, having to go full time into music after losing a job and not having any unemployment benefits here in the States, I said, I don't ever want to be in a position again where I'm depending on somebody else signing a check for me. I need to, even though realistically clients, artists, labels, they are all signing checks, but I wanted to take it into my own hands a little bit. So between 2009, 2010, I made about $34,000, selling beats online, as well as doing graphic design jobs, writing website code and WordPress templates and stuff for people back in the day. But I think that, to answer your question about coaching, I'd been helping a lot of artist friends, producers. They wanted to know how I was getting up on the charts on SoundClick and how I was connecting with certain artists and how I worked with G-Eazy or ModSun or Kevin Gates or whoever. And so I started saying, well, nobody knows about you. You got to build your brand, and then help this guy, help that guy who were friends. And then the emails and the text messages and the DMs started coming through. Hey, I know this guy. He said that you're the guy to go through. I need this and this and this. And I'm like, dude, I don't have the time to be helping like every single one of a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend. Therefore, the first time I ever really had a coaching program officially is somebody that reached out to me, referenced one of my friends as referring to him. And I called that friend, and like he said, I've never actually told the story. He said, I'm not going to name names. I'm really trying not to name names. He goes, yeah, that person is like an acquaintance. I've worked with him a long time. He's a good dude. I'm not really friends with him, but more so an acquaintance. And so I came back at the guy and I said, hey, if you want my time, it's this much money for this many weeks, kind of just as like an FU, like a brush off thing. And he came back, I think like a day or two later, and said, hey, what's your PayPal? I'll pay you right now. And I'm like, okay, let's do this. And so for a while I hobbled through and I would work with 2 or 3 people at a time, got to the point where I had 5 or 6. And then I started kind of feeling guilty because there was a lot of people that were reaching out that didn't have the money for the amount of time. And yet they were really talented. Yet I didn't want to start just giving everybody a random price. So it came to a point where there was 2 or 3 people. I worked them all the way through. I took a long break. And then I said, I want to be able to provide the same amount of value and attention, but I can't just keep winging it with every single person. I need to make a curriculum. That's when I came up with the online course, did that for over a year before I ever opened up my accelerator program, my mentorship program again, because then I had an outline with, you know what I'm talking about. Then I had an outline with, what do you want to call it? Accessory or companion content that would go with all of that I could then work through so that we would never get off task. We could always stay really focused. And that curriculum took me 2 years to put together in the system, in the sequence that it is today. So it's been really, really freaking fulfilling though. That's why I keep at it. It's like you see somebody that goes from early on or even midway through a career, somebody that had success, somebody that was on a label and then got dumped and kicked to the curb. And then we get that all going back. We get the mindset and obviously the strategy and tactics and all that good stuff. Again, not trying to sound like a salesman, but the fulfillment along with the business element of it to where I can keep pushing the envelope, pushing the needle forward. I'm a very competitive person, played sports all through high school, was in martial arts for 12 years. So I want to be the go-to, not in a guru sense, because I do not know everything. But if I create systems that work if I could teach those systems in a repeatable way, then I can get a predictable outcome. And that's ultimately a win. Because then no matter whether a person wants to make money, a person wants to gain a following, a person wants to be heard, a person wants to get a little bit more polished in their branding, we can attack all those different goals, maybe all of the goals, to really move them forward and become peers and friends at the same time, no different than you and I.
Yeah, that's right. And I always see that, I always see you as a mentor. I always see like, I start doing this, what would Adam do? Exercise in my brain. Or like, would Adam do this? Would Adam do that? Only because like you said, you are the type of person who trusts their gut. And for me, like sometimes I have trouble with that. And sometimes I always doubt myself, and it's a bad sort of neurotic pattern. And sometimes it just takes that extra step to just say, you know what, not today.
I remember you and I working together several months ago at this point. And you were saying, Adam, I think I'm going to have this song finished. It's just not really where I want it to be yet. And I kept hearing that from you. And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I was like, bro, I want you to write a song a day for like the next 2 weeks. Remember that? I said, I want you to write a song. Maybe it was once a week.
I was like, this man's crazy.
Yeah. And then you started doing it.
Yes, that's right.
And then you came back and you're like, dude, this is like a whole different world for me right now. And to the point where then you found your happy medium.
Yeah.
So the overthink was overpowered by an incomprehensible task. Something that was taking you weeks or months to do now is required within a few days or every day. You push through that comfort zone, and what happens on the other side of it? A new normal.
That's right. You know what's so crazy was that I was already like writing a lot of stuff, like, on recorder, on iPhone, but it was just for me. And I say this because I know there's a lot of musicians and songwriters out there who feel this way, but I always doubted that material. And I end up kind of deleting it. And that's the worst thing you can do. That's the worst thing you can do to yourself. And the reason why that eureka moment was so fast for me when you said that was because I was like, well, I'm really putting all this mileage in, and I'm not putting it out there. That makes no sense. That makes absolutely no sense. So I love that that you are out here helping people. I love that you're taking this coaching to the world. I love that you're actually changing the culture of music. I like that you're changing the culture of the industry. It's no longer like, hey, let's go and find a label and start pitching to them, and let's just put all these demos, or even let's just email all of these MP3s and see what they think. And unfortunately, I feel like a good amount of the people in the world still think that way. But that's slowly changing, and I think it's changing, more now than before because of the pandemic, because now we have no choice to be in front of screens, which is actually why I love what you're doing. Because when they see, when they type music industry, they type stuff like that, they see you. And then that's where I think you're really shifting the culture. You're shifting the mindset. We're like, okay, it's actually a regular thing to start working on music and to start, doing this music marketing thing as a part of what I do. I love that you're actually making it normal. That's actually that to me never existed in 2005, 2006, 2007, right? Yeah. That's something that that's something you did.
I appreciate that, man. I mean, I can't take all the credit. There's other dipshits on YouTube doing the same thing or trying to. But a lot of times I don't get to tell my actual story on how I did corporate marketing for over 8 years at a high level, multi-million-dollar businesses. I mean, some of these businesses, Fortune 1000, Fortune 500 companies. So that amount of experience, and a lot of it sucked. A lot of it was incredibly fun and very educational on my side, learning new things with teams that had specialties that I never even knew existed. Just mixed with my music career itself, I realized that I could do a whole lot more. I could get a lot more traction. I could meet a whole lot more people without having to work 18-hour days like I had been in the past. And so what I bring to the table is marketing has been a no-brainer for all these different businesses for years. In the corporate realm, it doesn't matter if it's a startup, it doesn't matter if it's a company like Ford, a company like Tesla, a company like Wonder Bread. They all have marketing. whether it's the packaging, whether it's the commercials, whether it's the narrative, the backstory, the website work. Why aren't we doing the same thing? As soon as I started applying that to my own career, I realized nobody was. So I started doing videos, answering emails and DMs that just frustrated me, really. If you go watch the old stuff, I'm like scrubbed out in like a half put together office. Half the time just got home from the gym pissed off. And next thing you know, you find people who have the same frustrations. And now instead of just answering emails, answering DMs, I can answer that same question because a lot of people are asking it in different ways in a medium such as YouTube, a platform such as YouTube. And, I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned that some of my old videos from 3, 4, 5 years ago, they're not as accurate as I thought they were because I've learned that I've grown, right? So, as we evolve, as things change, I might talk about a hashtag strategy this year that in 2024 is completely irrelevant. And that's the thing that marketing really always goes back to, is it's ever changing. And so between myself, my team, we're always hungry for learning new tactics, new techniques, new features and functionalities of all these different platforms, new ways to gain people's attention, new hook concepts to get them hooked in the first 3 seconds, to, like you were talking about with TikTok earlier, get them to watch all the way through and actually care and share and comment and like and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But it's an art form that you have to embrace, because if you try to buck it, if you try to resist, it's never going to be fun. It's going to feel like a day job and you're going to hate it, because music and the freedom that you can get with music or any creative venture is not going to be fun if you look at it like a day job. And we're so programmed to leave school, go into a day job, say, yes, sir, no, ma'am, follow instructions, and then punch out at the end of the day and be okay with the couple extra $100 that you have at the end of the month. And there's a life of abundance beyond that. You just have to, live within your means. Because if you want a life of freedom, you don't just keep growing. Even people that have Grammys are now working for 45, 50 grand a year at Full Sail as instructors because they don't want that life anymore, So,
that's right.
You can chase and chase and chase, but you have a pocket. You have to emphasize what you do with that pocket and then expand from it.
Well, that's incredible. With that said, I think this is the end. Oh my gosh, this has been such
the end forever. Don't tell me. It's something I did.
No, this is. I think it's been an hour. I have this inner clock that tells me an hour passes. So what I do at the end of my episode, I give the guest a chance to say whatever they want to say, promote whatever they want to promote, and this is yours. The floor is yours.
Well, man, like I said earlier before we started recording, I appreciate the opportunity to just talk with you on your show. I'm so proud of the fact that out of the ashes comes this show where you're now sharing your voice, you're sharing the story of other people in a very conversational way. It's not clunky, it's not robotic. So for that, I do truly appreciate it. I appreciate all the effort that you put in while we were actively working in the program. You're always going to be a student and a peer and a friend of mine, but you really did do some kick-ass stuff. And in 2021, you're going to do even more. But with that being said, if you're looking for an RV, if you're looking for a camper, some of the best deals, I'm just kidding. I don't know. That'd be pretty awesome if I had like a camper business.
Yeah. I was like, where's the ad? What the?
Yeah. Where's this going? No, this video is sponsored by Storyblocks. No, it's like, I just watched like 4 videos today on YouTube. They're all sponsored by Storyblocks. Anyway.
Oh my gosh.
If you guys want a little bit of guidance, if you want a little bit of entertainment, if you want a little bit of an opinion, come follow me on Instagram at Adam Ivy. I do have a program. I do have a mentorship. But I just want you to connect with me over on Instagram first. I'm not trying to pitch you hard on anything. Come over to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Adam Ivy, or go to channelfamily.com. You can also go to marketyourmusic.com right now. And that all goes to my YouTube channel. Over 200 free videos. I highly recommend just dissecting those, putting those into practice, communicating with people in the comments section in the community. Come say what's up in the comments over on Instagram. Let's see a little bit of growth with all the free stuff that I put out there. And then if you're wanting to take it to the next level, if you're ready to jump in and you want a full-blown system that you can follow and all that good stuff, I offer that as well. But I just want you guys to have fun with it. I want you guys to be able to build a brand around what you love doing, being able to get your voices heard, build an adoring fan base, hopefully get paid from it. I'm not the guy that's going to promise you 10 grand a month in the first 60 days. Like I I'm not that guy, right? It's hard work. You got to put in the effort. You got to earn your stripes. And, I'm here to try to help you, like I say on my YouTube videos, get further faster. And those of you who are watching this or listening and have already been following me and supporting me, just want to take a second to thank you genuinely. Your support, your kind words, your feedback, your comments, the good time that we have, it's really appreciated. And it means the world to me because, looking at YouTube 5+ years ago, never thought I'd be where I am now. And you guys are the reason that I do these videos.
Thank you very much, Adam Ivy. Mr. Adam Ivy, everyone.